Well, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Zyxel's Sales and Solutions Introductions webinar today. My name is Tri Wynn. I'm one of the product managers here at Zyxel. And really this time is kind of really to benefit anybody who wants to learn more about who Zyxel is, what products we have to offer for all of your networking needs. So here we are your networking ally. So this webinar is going to be recorded. You can view it online later on at any time through the VAR portal, or if you want to share it to some of your co-peoples, other co-workers and stuff like that might find interest in this. But if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A section, and I'll try to get to them either within the presentation or at the end of the presentation if we have time. So please do that. We have a lot of slides to cover, so I want to just jump right in. Again, my name is Tri Wynn. I've been at Zyxel for over 15 years now in product management and in the engineering group. So I have a lot of experience with products, with networking. So I've been in the industry for about over 20 years now. And amazingly, it's been a wild ride, but being able to be part of this company and using the technologies that are there and available, it is a really cool experience. And hopefully you guys can kind of get a little glimpse of that, of what we do here at Zyxel. So a little about who we are. We've been actually in the business 30 years now. We just celebrated our 30th year in the networking. We were established in 1989. We have 1,500 employees worldwide with over 700,000 businesses using Zyxel solutions. We're in 150 markets globally and powering up over 100 million devices using any kind of network connectivity. Now, Zyxel has kind of three branches, kind of three arms within the company, where there are things with the telco providers, like products within the service providers, business products, which is what I'm mostly involved with in the kind of the business area, with working with VARs and system integrators. And then we also have a connected home section as well. And what we pride ourselves is in with our R&D capabilities. Now, a third of our workforce out of that 1,500, 500 of them are actually software and hardware engineer, with another 150 tech support people globally. We have in the US, you all are being supported in our tech support building, which is right next door to the headquarters office, the North American headquarters in Anaheim, California. So that's where I'm based out of. But really what this kind of brings to play is that Zyxel actually designs the hardware, the software for the products that are out there in the market. And so that gives you as a partner, as a customer, access to giving us direct feedback on what you're seeing in the market, things that could be added, anything that we can fix or enhance to make your product or be able to use the product more effectively for your business. And of course, our main headquarters is in, and where our main R&D is in our headquarters, which is in Taiwan. Now we have a wide comprehensive portfolio. So in the business space, we pride ourselves in having kind of an all-in-one solution. Security appliances that will provide you all the UTM, advanced threat management, sandboxing functionalities, traditional firewalls, anything you need, DHCP, things like that, all within the security appliance section. Wireless LAN, being able to connect anything via wireless using all sorts of AC, AX technologies with and without PoE, being able to manage them in the cloud, etc. Switches, which are the backbone of all the networks, being able to manage or unmanage them or to use them in a cloud managed scenario as well. With hospitality gateways, it gives you access to guest network access with kind of bill pay or using PayPal to get kind of a time of day access. And then all of that wrapped into our network management platforms, whether it's a software that's installed on a virtual machine or using a cloud service like our Nebula, which we will all cover today. So it's going to be broken up into a few sections here. And again, like I said, I'm going to be going through kind of like a really quick. If you have any questions, again, use the Q&A. But of course, you can always email me. My email will be at the end. So feel free to reach out to me. But we're going to talk about security. So we've actually been in the security industry for quite some time now. And so we've actually been certified for over 15 years now, continuously through ICSA, which just allows for us to be compatible and says, hey, your firewall is what is up to the standards that they have set. Our portfolio is broken into a few categories. The VPN series, which is if you want to focus on just VPN or SD-WAN functionality, basically connecting VPN tunnels, connecting offices and customers or remote office people or people working teleworkers and things like that connecting back into the office. Cloud managed UTM solutions, that's using our Nebula platform. And I'll talk again about the whole Nebula thing, but being able to manage everything, including your security, all under one umbrella, one dashboard, whether you have firewalls, gateways, switches, or access points. We have on-prem UTM solutions with our USG series. This is kind of our bread and butter right here. It pretty much provides either an all-in-one solution with all of your UTM needs, hotspot access, things like that to protect against network threats. And then our latest product, which is called our ATP series. This is our advanced threat protection. It encompasses everything within the whole UTM space, but it adds an additional layer of sandboxing, which allows for you to detect and prevent zero-day attacks. So there's kind of, a wide range. We want to make sure that our product's always highly available. So we have, it's taken into account multiple firmware support or dual firmware load support. So in case when you're loading things, it will be able to recover. Device high availability. So this is the kind of the product that differentiates where you find in a small business space, something in a $400 package giving you high availability capabilities. Being able to provide not only multiple load balancing WANs, but also in the little bit higher tier, there's hardware high availability as well, along with VPN high availability. Make sure that the VPN tunnels have primary, secondary gateways that if one of the internet connections go down, it can rebuild the tunnel right back to those offices. And then, of course, like I mentioned, multiple WAN, load balancing, failover, spillover, however you may want to do in order to add additional connectivity to an office. So all of these kind of wrap into what small businesses kind of face today. And that's what Zyxel really is kind of focused in on, is anywhere between 5 to 500 users. That's kind of our sweet spot in terms of an office space. But we do have models that will accommodate for like guest network access for like up to 4,000 connected devices, et cetera. So we take all of our UTM kind of products and we actually use the expertise of some independent partners. So we partnered up with like Bitdefender, Siren, and Trend Micro to provide all of the UTM functionalities, whereas competitors are using a lot of in-house things to do that. So we're basically leveraging their expertise. Now we also provide what we call application awareness, being able to not only control things that might be important to you, like for example, Facebook. People are always asking us, how do I block Facebook? How do I block social media sites? Before it was okay to just use standard content filtering. But of course, everything is moved to encrypted websites with HTTPS. So that becomes kind of a challenge. But with our products, you can then block not only that, the websites, but then also the contents as well to be able to allow chat or not allow chat within Facebook, for example. So it can go really granular on how you want to provide what kind of services there. But be able to identify up to 3,000 applications and even behaviors, and then provide us flexibility of the control, access, and things like that. And all of this is really important for you to know. In fact, that the fact that you want to get to myzyxel.com. So if you have not yet used myzyxel.com or have like installed a security appliance, that's one of the first things that you end up doing is you actually go to myzyxel.com because it's our license management portal. It handles all of your existing devices. And what you want to do as a partner, if you are a Zyxel approved partner, you want to go to the top link. At the very top of the header, there's actually a little link that says request for reseller view. And some of you may have already seen that, but have no clue what that means. What it does is it allows for you to actually be added to the VAR list. And so that when you're adding product from one of your customers, you're adding it to myZyxel and they want their own account, you can actually add yourself, your company name as the managing partner of that device. And what happens is within your login view, you'll be able to see and be able to manage that and do all the renewal services and buy licenses and apply them to those devices that for your customers, right? So you can have that ability. So make sure you do that. Get into the myzyxel.com and set up that account and see how that is. And also, this also helps to allow for you to get information when things are expiring, or you'll get email alerts, things like that on the different products and services that are available. So it's all about just managing the device, the life cycles, be able to have that multi-tenant portal within the myZyxel, and also doing some reporting as well. So you can actually throw out with the reseller view, you can throw out reports that say, okay, give me some expiration times of devices coming in the future, so that you can go and pursue either renewal or at least get a renewal of the services, depending on how your business model is. So in the VPN series, like I mentioned, this is mostly focused on VPN itself. So making sure that the VPN connectivity between office and office, or office to maybe laptop or to mobile device from a remote user, making sure that that's always available as much as possible. So being able to give high availability for VPN, using again multi-WAN load balancing, be able to do that, and also having it all kind of encompasses with a wireless LAN controller as well. So using the latest SHA-2 encryptions for IPsec. So we're doing IPsec VPN tunnels. Unfortunately, right now, in order for you to use IPsec on like a client device, you have to kind of bring your own device, bring your own software for like a mobile device, or you can buy Zyxel's IPsec client for those purposes. But we are working on more of the kind of the mobile side of things, but you could still use the built-in L2TP that's provided for most mobile devices, and that will work perfectly fine for remote network access. So we provide a very flexible VPN design so that you can use not only IPsec VPN, but you can do L2TP over IPsec, which is again included in most like Windows devices and mobile devices, and then also SSL VPN. So being able to do using a browser in order to make an encrypted tunnel to your headquarters. So being able to do again office to office, or mobile device or remote office to a central office for sharing. Now, another aspect of the VPN series, and in fact, actually all of our UTM, any of our firewall series, we have now built in AWS VPC. So if your customers are using VPC, which is Amazon Web Service Virtual Private Network, it's a private cloud that Amazon will host for you, that you'll have kind of your virtualized like web application, CRM, any database sharing, things like that via internet. But you have to build it using an approved product, a firewall that actually can build a VPN tunnel to the Amazon cloud side and have a reliability. So we took it through an extensive test with Amazon to get on the approved list. And so Zyxel is actually listed as one of the vendors there. Sorry, the quality looks like it's a little bad there. Might not be able to read it, but we're there. Let's just say that we're there. So as long as you're on the latest firmware, actually it was several patches before. It's probably like a patch maybe a year ago. So as long as you're on like at least a year-old firmware, which you probably should be on the latest one anyways, you'll have that access capability. And again, most of the products that Zyxel makes is very flexible in that even the VPN devices have multiple functions, multiple applications that it can be used in. So the VPN portfolio comes in a few series. Now, don't be too confused by the VPN 2S. The 2S doesn't have the VPN series or VPC functionality. It's kind of a standalone. If you just need a simple SOHO, small office, home office type firewall that has VPN capabilities, that's the VPN 2S. The USG 20, the VPN, and the USG 2200, those are the VPN devices. But our VPN portfolio itself is primarily consisting of a VPN 50, which is not on this particular side, VPN 100, 300, and the 2200s. Now, the NSG is basically our USG gateway series. So basically, it's a UTM device within the cloud and being managed by our Nebula series. I'll talk a little bit more about what the advantages of the Nebula is, but I just want to say, hey, there are products that are specifically made for the Nebula cloud. Now, of course, we're moving to the future, of course, where a lot of the UTM devices, like our ATP series, will eventually be part of this Nebula as well. So we're making more flexible products in the future that will, with a firmware upgrade, allow for it also to be managed within this Nebula cloud. But we have a scale, again, of 4 products right now, ranging to handle the portfolio or to handle the range of small businesses that we deal with for the security in the cloud. So the USG series is our unified security gateway. And again, the portfolio, well, we were just seeing the portfolio, it has things like content filtering, again, VPN as well. So the main difference is that the VPN series doesn't have all the UTM services like content filtering, anti-spam, intrusion detection, application control. Those kinds of things are in this particular series, the USG series. We have easy mode, which allows for if you've never installed a USG device before, to be able to install and go through some wizards that help you do probably primarily like 80% of the installations that are there. It has the ability to do the application intelligence, like I had mentioned earlier as well, to identify, categorize, and control all of that. And all housed within in this product is it includes a wireless LAN controller. So you don't need a separate wireless LAN box in order to control and manage Zyxel access points. So you can deploy up to from 2 to even 258, I think even higher, to 512 access points that can be managed by our USG series. So again, bringing flexibility for your deployment so that you can manage it kind of all within the same system here. And of course, multi-WAN load balancing. I get a lot of that question right now as well, as people are trying to upgrade their current systems, their current internet access, being able to add an additional connection for reliability, for load balancing, that kind of thing, and finding what box will allow for that. And we'll do this, this box will do that in a very cost-effective way, but also, again, with small business in mind. So making sure that your VPN and things like that are being failed over, or you can be utilizing both connections at the same time, or even being as flexible as creating a policy that says, you know what, normal web traffic will go out the big pipe. You might have like a big cable modem service that provides a few hundred megs, and then the mission critical applications are going out your T1 connection. So you can say all your VoIP traffic from these devices are going out that side. And of course, if there's a failover, it will automatically jump to what is available. And speaking of high availability, we have both hardware high availability and also internet connectivity high availability, with also SSL inspections if you have that requirement to be able to look at encrypted traffic itself. So the USG and the ATP series can actually be like a middleman to decrypt and encrypt the SSL packets itself. And then hotspot management in kind of the mid-tier level products in the USG allows for you to give kind of tiered billing support, or if you want to do the guest network access where I agree to a certain terms of service before I get internet access, so you can build a guest network access for that. So you can have the same firewall box used for not only the office private network, but then segmented out and giving a guest network hotspot feel within that same product. And of course, also has a billing capability. So like I mentioned earlier, you can tie it into PayPal and charge per hour usage or per day usage if you'd like as well. So you can pay by credit card and then get internet access. So it's great for hotspots for like retail chains or fast food restaurants, things like that. It's all built within the system. So the portfolio ranges as well. Again, anything between 5 to 500 users. The primary difference that you want to take a look at as a partner, and if you've already deployed security products, in general, you kind of know this, which is looking at not only the firewall throughput, which is kind of the max throughput, but more importantly to me is what is the application. So if you're looking at using doing a UTM application where all of those services are turned on, you want to take a look at that UTM throughput, because that's going to give you kind of a ballpark figure of what connectivity you might want to use. Which box to use for the WAN interface that you're using up there. Now, of course, these models are a little bit older. These are kind of our previous generation hardware per se that have on the lower end. They're perfect for anything like 25 to 100 megs connection. But if you're looking at a higher connection speeds, then you either have to move up to the higher end models like our USG 210s and above that have like 500 megabits UTM throughput, or you have to then go to our ATP series, which is the next kind of product that I will be talking about. So again, ranging the whole portfolio, and we'll help you. We do have, if you reach out to our sales team, we have cool little like an Excel product selector that allows for you to choose kind of your application and then figure out which product will fit best for you. So our advanced threat protection, our ATP, is our newest product line that we released last year with the newest hardware. And what does that provide? Well, let's take a look. Conventional UTM basically can only look at signatures and things like that of things that are known or really or bad, right? So things that are known, whether they're good or bad. And So there's kind of clear definitions between when you know it's good and when you know it's bad. But the in between, it kind of looks good, kind of looks bad. That's where the gray area is, and it can't really. The current conventional UTM can't identify those really well. So either you get false positives and things like that, or you get things that are blocked that you don't really want to block. But the ATP series uses sandboxing and also a cloud AI to manage what's kind of that gray area. Now, of course, the known good and known bad, that's the easy part. Now, the hard part is doing what's in between. So we're actually able to look and kind of scan for even 0-day threats and kind of exploits that may be, maybe behaviors or things like that on against vulnerabilities and things. So we actually can use a smart cloud intelligence and in real time, basically sending that information off to the cloud for the machine to analyze, and then also to learn about what it is, and then also sharing that knowledge sharing across to other products. So how does that work? So let's say a zip file of some sort, like unknown threat, is passed through the network. It is then sent to the cloud, which then the cloud then emulates it. It kind of looks at the patterns, things like that. It looks at it within the sandbox. So it's kind of in a safe area. That's why they call it sandboxing. And then it takes that, contains that up, identifies whether it's malicious or not, if it's an attack, et cetera, and then puts it into an intelligence, kind of a defense intelligence. And that gets shared across. So when it makes a new signature, and then also those signatures can then be sent to other devices as well. So it's kind of a whole networking sharing, just kind of a simple way to think about it. But obviously it's doing something very complex where a lot of the data, a lot of the information is getting sent to the cloud, hashed up and try to be emulated to find out, hey, is this really a threat or not? Now, our portfolio consists of 3 models currently. We have a new model coming out at the end of October, which is the ATP 100. The ATP 200, 500, and 800 are available today. And again, if you look at the throughputs and you get a chance to compare back to the UTM series, you'll notice that the numbers are much higher, especially in the price point that it is. So, like for example, just to give you kind of a general ballpark figure, an ATP 200 fully bundled with UTM services and the UTM throughput of 450 megabits per second is going to run you probably somewhere around $600 street price. So that's what you'll probably find online. That includes all 1-year licenses as well. So the box is totally unlocked. So everything is available for that year. So again, really about cost effectiveness. So the kind of the main differences between the USG, you'll see right here, kind of has a lot of the UTM functions, but again, the ATP has things like anti-malware with machine learning, botnet filters, has the sandboxing, has the ability to do 0-day IP and URL reputation. So if a site or an IP address is being marked as known malicious or something like that, that will happen and that will get propagated to our ATP devices. Of course, again, comparing the throughputs, that's the biggest thing that you'll notice the difference. So IDP throughput, let's say a USG 210 has a throughput of 660 megabits per second, but the ATP 500, which is in the same kind of price class, will push 1700 megabits, so more than 2.5 times. And of course, the UTM throughput, our highest end USG model, pushes 700 megabits per second on the 1900. And the ATP 500, which is also still kind of our midline product, will push over 800. So even the midline product is pushing more UTM throughput than the existing high-end model. So again, it's all about application. If you're looking at doing UTM and high throughput connectivity, then you want to go with ATP. If there's a kind of a normal, kind of less than 100 meg kind of connectivity, then the USG is more cost effective. Kevin asked, is the USG or ATP supported within Nebula? Now the ATP will be supported in Nebula. It's already in the process. So you'll see it as a kind of a flex. If you're familiar with Nebula, you'll have the ability to either use it in a standalone mode or send it to Nebula Cloud. So you'll be able to manage it within the cloud, probably in the first quarter of next year. So that's where the plan is currently right now for the ATP series. Now the USG series, it's kind of questionable because that is an older product line. It may or may not be supported right now. So it's still kind of in the air. I know that the ATP itself is what's getting put into the cloud because that is kind of the future for that. Now, of course, we also have aggressive trade-up programs. So if some of those USGs you've been using for the last 3, 4, 5 years, and you want to go to the cloud, you want to upgrade them as well, we have trade-in programs that will allow for to help with that. And then all that information, of course, all the security you want has to be managed in terms of reporting. So we have a Zyxel SecuReporter, which lets you centralize all of your kind of syslog data, your alerting, monitoring, be able to visualize that, do the analysis, be able to send reports, things like that within the cloud. You send basically all the data of like from your customers, things like that to that, and be able to manage that all from a single, kind of a single portal. So you should be able to get information from all your businesses. So it's really great for the SMB to be able to drill into the data and learn about that, to find out what's the threat, who's the target, who's the attacker, things like that, time of day. And the biggest thing is I think one of the big things that service providers or managed service providers have a struggle with to convincing a customer who needs the security is, their question is usually, why do I need this? Why do I need to pay you a monthly fee in order to get, security, threat management? Now with the Secure Manager, or even within the Nebula platform that I'm going to talk about in a second, it gives you the visibility of what's actually going on in the network. So with SecuReporter, you actually can run a monthly report, and you can organize the different widgets on what information you want to share with that customer, and be able to print it out PDF basically to the customer, send it off and say, hey, you know what? These are all the threats that we blocked. This is how much traffic you've used. These are the top clients. These are the top websites they've been to, things like that, that might be pertinent to their service, or to why they're subscribing to the service. So really, again, adding value to what is there, because you at least know that, hey, you're being protected, or the network is being protected, because I don't see a data point of any sort, I don't know if it's really being protected. So that PDF, that report that you can send out monthly, scheduled, you can really provide, again, value to what you're charging. So Nebula is our cloud control kind of central management system. NCC is our Nebula Control Center. It's really designed for kind of a single one-spot shop for all of the different devices that can be managed by Nebula. Now, on the other side of the spectrum is also Nebula Orchestrator, and that's primarily for SD-WAN applications. So that's kind of a split within the visibility, depending on what application you're using. A majority of our customers are using the Nebula Control Center side, being able to manage all your access points, gateways, and security, and switches within the network within Nebula. And then there's a portion of people who are using our VPN series for just SD-WAN functionality on the side, on the orchestrator side. So when you log in, you'll be approached with kind of the two paths, whether you want to go to the orchestrator side or to the Nebula Control Center side. Now, orchestrator is all about SD-WAN. I won't cover too much about this right now, but if you're interested in more of an SD-WAN solution for like VoIP connectivity to replace MPLSs, then feel free to reach out to me. Now, Nebula is all about managing the IT. Now, we've made it simple for installers, for customers to use this Nebula product. We're all about kind of, as little hands-on as possible, so as hands-free as possible. So we kind of call it a three-step process for installing Nebula. It's plug in a device, log in, register the device using the control center or using our web app or a mobile app, assign, configure, monitor the device. So it's really all about that. Now, the cool thing is that even though it's numbered 1, 2, 3, I always tell customers you can actually do it in any numerical order, because it doesn't matter. You can configure the device before you even have the product. You can configure, for that site, what SSIDs they should have, what IP addresses they should have within the network, their subnet, everything, within that for switches, gateways, and wireless. So you can pre-build that. Then once you've plugged in the device, or once you've registered the device, then you can apply that those configurations to that site, right? Or that site configures those devices. So you can literally set it up without even unboxing, because what we've done is we've actually added that QR code, which is the serial MAC address number information on the brown box itself, which matches, of course, the belly label of the product. So on the label of the product also includes this QR code, which you can use your mobile app. You can download that from the App Store right now. I believe it's iOS right now. I'm not sure if they have the Android version yet, but for sure the iOS version, you can then use it to scan in that QR code, and it automatically adds that MAC serial to the app, which then you can apply that device to a particular site. So you can kind of imagine, some of your installer guys who are going out to do the installation themselves, or within even the tech board where they're doing the pre-configuration before they ship out. They can just do the whole scan in these devices. This belongs to this customer, so puts it on that site. And then your guys who are doing all the technical configuration stuff, they could already have the product configured. So then once the devices get online, calls home, says, "Here I am. Who am I? Who do I belong to?" It will then grab the configuration. So literally, you could be up in minutes once the product is plugged in and it's already configured. Now, the cool thing is that as a partner and with a professional pack, and I'll talk again about the licensing involved here, but as a partner, typically you're in the pro pack kind of space where you're managing as a managed service provider. You're able to create like cloned sites. So you can create these cookie cutter sites. Let's say, I always tell customers, let's say a doctor's office that has, it's always the same network. It's an access point, a PoE switch, and a firewall gateway, right? And it's always configured with somebody's SSID, and it's split between a private network and a guest network for people who are there at the office. And so you make this cookie cutter site, you clone it over to a new customer site that you just, maybe signed on, change a few of the configurations, scan in the 3 products, an access point, a gateway, a switch, and then say, "Hey, these belong to so-and-so's doctor's office." Boom, done. Ship that product off to the customer, or the installer goes out and it plugs it in. Now you do not need now you don't even need a network tech engineer guy to go do your installations. You can have really like a cable guy to just go out there, as long as he's trained and knows how to plug in. Here, the modem goes into the gateway plugs into the switch then plugs, the access points plugged into that switch as well, right? So once you have that chain, internet is up, it calls home, says, "Hey, who am I?" Gets all the firmware, gets all of the configurations that we've already pre-configured and cloned over, and then boom, off and running. And so you can even then go even further. We have some partners who even create like now installation kits where they'll have instructions that just say, "Hey, plug this in here, there, here," real simple steps. And all they have to do is somebody on site, plugs those things in for them. They'll see it come online, maybe call them and say, "Hey, we just plugged this in," do some verification, and then boom, the service is now available. So there's really no additional hardware besides the networking devices themselves. But there's no additional hardware that you need in order to monitor these things. So you don't have to have like some sort, special cloud key that you have to install somewhere within the network, like on a computer or something like that for this kind of cloud management. It's all built within each device, and they all talk back to the cloud. So our Nebula cloud is then hosted in Amazon, so it's available actually anywhere. So anywhere you can get internet access, you'll have access to your control center. So you'll be sitting on a mountain technically and be able to check on your customer's network if something happens to go on. Be able to tie it in with a Google Maps as well, and you can click through and click into those as well. So it's really cool. It's really simple in that regard. And of course, we have the mobile app that you can then check some basic informations about the site, and then do the installation, QR code scanning, things like that. So be able to create that all within the palm of your hand. And of course, managing all of those organizations. It's organized in a multi-tier level view for really service providers, for managed service providers. So when you first log in, you have different organizations. So different organizations could be your different retail customers, let's say. And then each retail may have multiple sites. So then you can divide them into sites. So that's the drop-down tier of sites with multiple organizations. So again, you can be as flexible as you want to do that with the multi-tenant levels, and then also give different levels of access as well. So if you have technicians who maybe they're regional techs and you want certain techs to handle just certain customers that are part of a certain region or a certain city area, they have access to be able to manage, control, or change configurations, or just to view, right? So you have that flexibility. And of course, you can always give your customers also a view-only view of their organization as well. So a lot of information, the dashboard gives you kind of the site health, where those sites belong or they are at. And then when you go into each site, it also has kind of a dashboard view as well. Gives you a real-time application traffic summary. Over here, it'll tell what application it is, how much bandwidth's being used, and then also an overview of the devices that are there. So you get to see like how many APs are there, how much power you've been using on the PoE, etc. So I think that's really what's really important about from a managed service provider standpoint is the information that you can get back, right? The more informed you are about the network, the better you can troubleshoot it. The more likely you can provide information to your customer, again, to provide the value that you are in this managed service. Now, Nebula Flex is all about flexibility. So some of our products, we label it as a Nebula Flex product, meaning that it can work in both standalone and also in central network management mode for Nebula. So it can be controlled by itself, in your traditional way, or be used in the cloud. Now we do have one other kind of naming, I guess you could say, what we call is Nebula Flex Pro. And Pro kind of applies to these models, the standalone. It has controller functions, and then it's also Nebula that includes 3-year Pro Pack. So it all has kind of a multi-year plan kind of already built into it. So you'll see some of our products, primarily our wireless products, that have it already bundled with a 3-year Pro Pack. And again, I'm going to talk about what the licensing means. So Nebula is free. Oh, sorry about that. Nebula is free. So we have a free version of Nebula that allows for you to do all the features that you see on the left side there, the zero touch, auto deployment, central management. The main difference is that it's the logs, and there's some other kind of key features that in the professional pack, but one big one is the logs. The free version only has central logs up to 7 days, and it keeps rolling. So as you continue to get more logs in on the 7th day, the logs will roll off on that first day, right? So that's what ends up happening. Again, that's part of the free services, but it does give you a lot of the functionalities. You can take a look at that now with any of our products to see what is available. Now you'll notice as you're kind of going through the Nebula interface itself, that there are some features or some menu items that will have like a little icon that says, Pro version. And if you highlight over it, it'll say only available with Professional Pack. So what Professional Pack, it's an annual license fee per device. Or you can then buy what we call lifetime pack. So you can unlock basically lifetime for that node. So for example, in a particular site, if you have 5 APs, you want to add 5 APs to a lifetime, all 5 APs have to be added as a lifetime license in order to exist in that same site. You can't mix and match because you can't have some that will expire in a year and the other one's lifetime. It's because it's all co-terminated together. So they all have to be lifetime. So in order for it to work, if that makes sense. But the cool thing is it's lifetime, but the hardware can be interchanged. So you've paid for the lifetime node. If for some reason you decide to upgrade, or you have to change out a hardware, or you decide to upgrade the location, that license is transferred to the other product. So if you happen to buy a new access point that comes out, that's part of the Nebula solution, you can throw that in there and it will take that seat. Now, of course, if you're going to add some additional access points, then that additional access point has to come into that network with a lifetime pack. So it allows for you to have 365 days of monitoring. So again, instead of the 7 days, it's 365, a whole year of logging and device monitoring. It has other features like audits, change logs, being able to do the cloning capability that I mentioned earlier, like site cloning, be able to do site-wide or even organizationally wide configuration changes, site config cloning, audits, again, like I mentioned, and of course, more advanced support, advanced VPN and switch features that are, activated within the system, including, functionalities like for IPTV with multicast, like reporting and things like that. So we have all that functionality in the Pro Pack. And then additionally, if you are using our our NSG series or our firewall functionalities, there's kind of a separate pack because those are annual licenses that we have to pay to those other partner vendors that we use for the signatures, the IDP, antivirus, etc. But it's all in one pack. So there's a security pack that's an annual fee for the NSG series. that is paid on top of any of the annual or lifetime licenses that are there. On the wireless side, so kind of switching gears here a little bit. On the wireless, we have wireless products, again, both standalone or within the cloud. Just make sure that your networks are connectable or can be connected. And of course, we know that wireless is kind of what everybody uses nowadays. Everything is connected via wireless, whether it's your mobile or your devices, or even smart devices, etc. So we have a whole range of wireless products and different types of management, again, using either Nebula, standalone, or as a controller. And so let's talk a little bit about Zyxel's wireless solution and kind of the challenges. So have you ever experienced the fact that, when you have a high density environment and you kind of lose performance, or even if you have maybe a device, like let's say in a classroom, particular students may struggle with like download speeds or something's not stable, or you've seen and invested in, hey, I've gone out and got the latest, AX model. This should be better, but I'm still not seeing any kind of improvement from an previous technology, or you've or you're like in an office environment and you expect like all of your video conferences, things like that shouldn't be interrupted. But again, performance is an issue. Or you have to worry about a conference where there's lots of density. So why are you experiencing all of these kind of issues? And so the main reason of that is what we call co-channel interference. So interference is just like what it sounds like. It interferes with what you want to do. So co-channel interference is kind of the same concept. If you want to visualize two highways, two motorways coming together with no kind of merging, no lights, nothing like that. And so the lanes are just kind of coming together. So there's going to be a lot prone to collisions. And so the traditional way of managing co-channel interference, which is kind of why we change the different channels, right? You have your 6, 11, 1, 6, 11 channels on the 11N standard, and trying to space them as far apart so that you don't have this interference. And so one method of dealing with that is also lowering the power. So you have to turn down the power in order to minimize the co-channel interference. But the problem with turning down co-channel interference or trying to mitigate that is now your coverage area is a lot smaller, right? So you've turned down the power, you have less interference, but there's a dead spot in the middle. So that can't be. I mean, you can't have that. So what do you do? So you got to use smart antenna. So our smart antenna is able to increase the capacity, meaning that you can use in a very high density area. You actually can increase your coverage because you're doing it kind of in a smart way, being able to reduce interference and doing it in a very kind of smart, reduced power consumption kind of way. And here's part why the technology works. So the Zyxel smart antenna technology is actually a patented technology that Zyxel uses for this kind of mitigation. So traditional antennas, you'll see, they have the omnidirectional kind of function where it kind of provides Wi-Fi coverage in all areas. And then you have pieces that are part of a directionalized antenna portion. So how does smart antenna actually work? So it actually scans for clients and actually scans for different types of interference. And then it goes through a process of looking at 700 optimized antenna patterns and cycles through them in less than 100 milliseconds to find, hey, this is kind of the best way, or at least the best pattern to communicate with this client. Now, this client is, let's say, in front, and I use this analogy a lot in my presentations and talking to people. It's like the AP right now is cupping their hands. If you do this right now, well, if you're hearing headphones, then I guess it doesn't make any difference. But if somebody was talking to you live, if you cup your headphones, you actually can hear them better. But you also, as you cup your hands, all of your signals also going that way as well. So it's kind of like I hear you better, I can talk to you better, and also I'm listening to you better as well. While the interference, which is the microwave or whatever it is behind me, is less of an issue. So that's what it does. That it does that very effectively, even when the client moves. So as the client's moving, it's changing its pattern. So how it's hearing, it's kind of doing kind of that kind of thing as a device is moving around. So roaming doesn't have any effect on it as well. It just has to find the right pattern again. And it does it very quickly. And so if you want to take a look, if you want to search for the University of Bruxia on Google, or check that link right there, you can find out more about what a third-party research school basically did on kind of the effects of the smart antenna technology. So they actually took Zyxel, because we had the smart antenna technology, and Ruckus Wireless as well with their smart antenna technology, and at that time Aruba and Cisco, which did not have any of that, and kind of did a comparison to see, hey, what's better from code channel interference, better coverage. So Zyxel actually performed very well within all of that. So you can take a look at all that research, but in general, we were better in code channel interference areas by up to 70% gain with respect to other access points. So in terms of throughput, so we're able to outperform a lot of the competitors that are there, because we really take into pride how we design our products. So the wireless product itself has been refined, fine-tuned, using robust hardware, because we use robust hardware, we have shielding. We shield even the components, the wireless radios themselves. So they're backed by a lifetime warranty. In fact, all of our business class products, whether it be our Nebula series, our gateways, our access points, our switches, they are all backed by Zyxel's limited lifetime warranty. So these are some of the models that you would be able to find out there now. These are our Nebula Flex models. So again, they can be used as a standalone, or they can be used and converted into a Nebula Cloud access point. Access point for the Nebula control side. And then we have our business class, more like our standalone products. These are a little bit more cost effective, but you know, if you don't need the management, you just need a couple of access points for a small office scenario, these are perfect for it, or even within in-room. So the WAC5302DS, this is an in-wall, not an in-wall, but an on-wall mounted access point, low profile. It looks like kind of just like a faceplate kind of device that you can put in mostly in a hotel environment. That's what we see that used a lot. And then our higher end, our WAC series is our smart antenna technology series products. All right, so we also have some controllers on-prem. So like I mentioned earlier, all of our VPN series, our USG series, and our ATP series come built in with controller. Let me turn this off real quick. Come in built with the controller functions, anywhere again between 2 access points all the way up to 250 access points, and can be even unlocked even further with some special firmware. And then we have also our standalone controllers, which is our NXC series. So if you're looking at using a controller to manage your access points, you can more traditional and need higher numbers. Like our NXC 5500 can support 1,024 access points to be managed. Now I want to switch gears, pun intended, going to the switching network side of things, because I believe that switches are the backbone of any network, whether it's Wi-Fi. You still need to be sending that data back to something. So to aggregate it back, you have to use the switch network. So it's really important to make sure that your switch network is not just something that you kind of like as a second thought, right? It has to be part of your networking planning. So to help you understand what how Zyxel naming things are, here's a slide that this is how we name our products. The EAS in our switches stand for fast Ethernet. It's just an Ethernet switch, so that's our 100 megabits per second. Our GS switches stands for a gigabit switch. XS stands for the Roman numeral 10, which is a 10 gig switch. So the XS stands for all the ports are either 10 gig copper, multi-gig copper, or SFP plus fiber for 10 gig. Our XGS is kind of a hybrid. The X is still 10 gig, but it's still a gigabit switch, meaning that traditional ports are all 1 gig, but it comes with dedicated 10 gig uplinks. So that's where the XGS comes into play. The MGS, most of our partners don't really sell this particular one because it's more of a carrier class switch. Now, if the product the name ends in a P or an HP, that stands for PoE. So most of our products now are all HP devices, meaning that it's the high power PoE. We do have some legacy devices that you may see just the single P, but HP just stands for like high powered PoE. And if it has an F behind it, then there's it's primarily a fiber switch, meaning that all the traditional ports are fiber SFP. All right, so I wanted to talk about the main application that is being used, and the hottest, obviously hottest application within it is our PoE switches. So PoE, being able to intelligently monitor, this is how we do it differently. People may ask, well, what's the difference between your switch and whatnot from others? What we do in our product is that we use consumption mode, meaning we're maximizing the power wattage being used by only allocating the power in the budget for what the device is actually drawing. So you can control it by each port to see what it is. You could prioritize. You can also schedule PoE as well. So you could turn things off if you needed or turn it back on. Or even it's very helpful to be able to use that feature to reboot an access point if you're trying to troubleshoot it. Now, for example, here's what consumption mode does. If I wanted to power up 20 access points that uses the class 4, which is the 802.3AT standard, it would classify as 30 watts. So a traditional switch would then put 30 watts out of the budget, right? Reserve that for that particular device. And if I wanted to power 20 access points, I would need a switch that had 600 watts of power. So that's a lot of power that's going to be consumed not only for green purposes, power consumption, things like that, but you need a big power supply, and it's going to be more costly. Now, the product itself, this particular access point, only uses 16 watts. So what we can actually do is use consumption modes. We will allocate 16 watts by detection off of the budget. So we actually can power 20 access points with only 320 watts. So this particular switch has a 375 watt budget. It's more than enough to handle 20 access points to be powered up. To the mid end. So I think it was just kind of lagging behind there a little bit. I just noticed. So we also have our web managed switches. So if you need to manage it via just a web GUI, more cost effective, but has a lot of the abilities, you can use those. But primarily, most of our partners will sit in this space. The GS 1920 series, the 1930 series, all because it has Nebula Flex functionalities, and it gives you kind of the best of both worlds, both functionality, also the best budget, in terms of cost effectiveness, and the highest kind of PoE budgets available. So this is where most of our partners will do most of their bids, most of their projects are in this space. And then those who are looking for more managed solutions will jump to our 2200 series or above. These are our fully layer 2 managed switches that have CLI capabilities. So anything you want, like Cisco-like CLI for some of the configurations, for special things that you can log into it via Telnet, via SSH, things like that to manage a switch, or for stacking, things like that. Our fully layer 2 managed switches would be the ideal product for that. And then on the higher end, we have products that are more of an aggregator switch, because they are like 10 gig uplinks, like our XS3800 is the new model that is available now. Now, we also have just recently launched our very dedicated switch line for IP surveillance. So we have a surveillance PoE switch that's launched, really to kind of solve the problems and the challenges in the surveillance market. Trying to find a reliable PoE source to be able to provide power to cameras, and also in a cost-effective way, be able to not have to worry about PoE injectors and things like that. That makes it more costly or more complex to install. And then also being able to manage the network. A lot of the current switches that are available for this IP surveillance are very basic switches, primarily just to give it power, but it's not really made or intended to have kind of a full layer 2 network management kind of feel and needs for support. And then also finding switches that will support any kind of PoE standard is difficult as well in this space. So what we've done is we've added that within this product line. The entire product line, one thing has available is extended range. So if you're looking to deploying a product or a camera that is beyond the normal 100 meters of Ethernet, you have to buy like another switch or like an injector or an extender injector in order to push that on, right? So that's going to be costly, etc. But these products have actually an extended mode, which allows for you to go up to 250 meters of Ethernet cable and still be able to provide PoE and up to 10 megabits of data. So we can go 820 feet now with that. So if you have those one-offs installs that you need to get to go a little further out there beyond the Ethernet, this is your solution. Being able to provide continuous PoE. So this is really one of the important features that, again, we've worked with some IP camera providers and partners to kind of come up with some of these features that they have been struggling with, that they need that flexibility or need that information. But continuous PoE, meaning that if you do a reload of the configuration, you return the product to factory default, you do a firmware upgrade, or even on a kind of an abnormal reboot, some sort of error, things like that, that it reboots, the power on the PoE will still be continually supplied, meaning that those cameras won't go down and won't go through a reboot cycle. Now, of course, data is not being transferred through any of the camera data information at this point because it is still doing a reboot, but you don't have to interrupt the camera having to reboot after that once the switch comes on. So again, it cuts down the whole uptime, or at least the downtime portion of it, if there's anything like that. It also has the ability to do and check on the camera status, being able to look at the health of the camera, be able to drill in, actually even detect if the the camera detects the system name, like this is an access camera and an IP address, you actually can click into that to get to that device's IP address if you have to manage it, things like that. So it gives you kind of a quick rundown of what it does. Now, one cool feature that it has is it actually has a auto camera recovery function. It will continue to either look through LLDP detection or through ping and check to make sure that device is there on that particular port. And if it is not, it can go through a whole kind of integration to help it to reboot and recover. So you can take a look at that. We can talk a little bit more about those details. But really, again, make sure that without having to roll a truck to troubleshoot, you can get the camera really to kind of reboot itself, come back on, and now everything is good to go again without your manual intervention. And again, we designed our products to be very solid and very reliable. So all the components and things like that, stronger EDS protection, stronger surge protection, better fans, optimized fans to cool, using solid state capacitors, using some of the high quality, robust power supplies to make sure, again, none of these products will fail, will fail on you. So again, these are all backed by our lifetime warranty as well. So these are some of the specs. You can find more information of all of these switches within our GS 1300 and GS 1350 series for our IP surveillance camera at our website, if you like. But again, we have 8-port, 16-port, 24-port power anywhere between 60 watts all the way up to 375 watts. Now, if you are not part of our partner program, I would encourage you to do that. We got a lot of benefits, discounts, and things like that. Access to a lot of our program information, and also trainings and higher margin capable functions as well through our distributors. Find out more information there. Go to vars.zyxel.com and you can find out more. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to call us, or you can give me feedback. You can email me directly, try@zyxel.com, and let me know. At this time, I think Kevin has another question. Does Nebula have any APIs for configuring or reporting? Currently, we're working on that on the API front. Right now, it has a lot of the syslog capabilities, so you can offload syslog if you have a third-party syslog server that you want to do that information. Does Nebula have standard outbound notifications? I believe so. So you might want to check with our support team to get that information, because it does have that kind of notification capabilities. It's all about notifying the managing partner, the VAR, either through I think it's mostly through email, and we are working through the app notification as well. Is there a comparison matrix between the NSG and the ATP series? We can get that to you. Definitely. Well, maybe what you can do is reach out to our sales team, and I'll have our system engineer, I'll provide you that information as well. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free. to ask them. If not, again, I appreciate spending the time here. I know it's kind of a quick rundown, but if there's any information that you'd like more information on, or have a more a call that we can explain any of these topics that may have interested you, again, feel free to reach out. I am, again, try@zyxel.com. We want to be your networking ally. And Doug asked the question, when will 4G LTE outdoor router be available? Currently, right now, it's on the service provider side. We do have some LTE, 5G, and 4G products that are in the works or already out, but they're not yet approved per se on a particular service provider at the moment. So we are working with that to providing that kind of solution. Thank you, Kevin, for the comment. Again, thank you so much. We will be back next Tuesday. I'm going to be doing a tech talk session about ATP, the ATP products. So you want to take a look at that. It's going to be kind of a two-part training. We're going to go look at more in depth on how the ATP product works, a lot of that sandboxing functionality that I mentioned, some of the security functionality. We're going to go and see and kind of take a look and deep dive into that. A little bit more on the technical side of things, how to configure it, how to use it, and what's the benefit of using an ATP series versus like a USG. So if you're already thinking USG and you're not worried about particular budget or performance, you want to go to the ATP. Take a look at that first because that's where it's going. So it's going to be more cost effective in the long run, and it's going to be able to future proof because the internet speeds are just moving up way too fast, to keep up. So you want to be able to not just upgrade the customer now because he may just end up getting an internet connection, in a month or two that is kind of outside the scale or outside the scope of the USG. So again, you might want to go and take a look at the ATP series. So we're doing that next Tuesday. So look for that, sign up. And it's going to be the same time at 11 a.m. Pacific to Eastern. So hopefully we'll see you there. Again, thank you so much. Again, my name is Tri. I am the product manager here at Zyxel, and we hope that this was informative to you. And again, reach out if you feel like you need some more information. So reach out to your sales rep if you are a partner, or just reach out to one of our sales channels there. We want to be there to help you if you need to get on a call to talk to your customers to find out, hey, what is the best option? But we have a lot of tools. We have a lot of battle cards and things like that will help you sell Nebula, help you sell ATP products, and then kind of even to figure out which product matrix for security, switches, access points, to go through kind of a workflow to kind of give you an informed decision on what products you should use for the application. But of course, you can always reach out to us to get that information as well. So look forward to hearing from you. Again, hope you have a good rest of your day, and thank you for choosing Zyxel. Have a good day.